Hi, I'm Marcia Eckert. I've been exploring ideas about autism, and I'm looking forward to really going into a lot of different areas. But this time, I'm really thrilled to be joined by Schereeya Reid, and I'd like Schereeya to introduce himself.
Thank you, Marcia. I'm Schereeya Reid. I live in Pittsburgh right now, and I use he, him, and they, them pronouns. And I'm an autistic person, and I like to talk about that. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, and one of the things that we've talked about many things, and I'm hoping to get you to talk about many other things with me. But one of the things we've talked about is the whole idea of intersectionality. And intersectionality means when you have more than one identity or more than one thing going on. So often when people read about autism, initially the people you've read about were white males. And
Hmm.
then I think there was more awareness of that there were white females and that
Hmm.
there were people who were gender nonconforming.
Hmm.
But I think the idea that there are many more intersectionalities than just gender and
Yeah.
and eh, and male female, all kinds of genders. And so
Mhm.
that's what I kind of wanted to talk to you about, because I know you have a lot of thoughts and experiences in that area.
Yeah, I do. I'll say my experience. So I'm what we call late diagnosed autistic. I did not know I was autistic until I was around 25 years old. But as a kid, I always felt like, well, something is different, or I relate to these very specific characters in the media, like think Data from Star Trek, those kind of robot characters early on. Or, as I got older and I would read more about maybe gifted kids or sensory issues or certain things, and I would say, like, I seem to have, these things, but like, I guess I'm not autistic. I've never seen another Black person who was autistic. And the thing that, and this is why I talk so much about representation, is because the thing that helped me first be like, oh, I can name this, was I met another Black person who had like a disabled button on their bag. Like they were carrying a bag, it had like a little button that said disabled and maybe autism or, something like that. And so I asked them about it. And they were, a Black person who was in a different country in the UK at the time. But it really, like, it was like I only needed to see one person that could ground me in that experience to know, oh, this is a label I can use for myself. And it was life changing.
Oh,
Like life changing.
yeah, because you could really understand yourself and what you were going through just personally, not just through the lens of being Black, but through the lens of being autistic.
Exactly. And that is a really big lens that's worth talking about. And I myself, when I, list my intersectionalities, I will include gender because I am a trans person. I might include socioeconomic status. I grew up very poor. I might even include I grew up in the South of the US. Like some of these things that kind of other you from whatever the main status quo is. But for me, being Black and being autistic are really big. There's the types of things that you can't pretend you don't have, or you can't pretend you're not, right? And I think in our country, it's really important to think about those intersectionalities because a lot of time Blackness can be criminalized. Even at school, we think about, the kids in your class who can get away with talking back to the teacher and the kids in your class who can't get away with it. And in the same way, we find that neurodivergence and being autistic specifically is sometimes criminalized. So again, think of kids who are, kind of restrained and forced to have their arms put down, or in school, those kids who are always getting in trouble for, talking back to the teacher and things like that. And the reason I like to talk about so much specifically that representation and intersectionality of Blackness and being autistic is because a lot of times our Black students, especially kids, are having really like a difficult time, right? Like the lights are too bright, the sounds are too loud, everyone's asking them these confusing questions, and they're not getting the same level of I will say, like, tenderness, right? They're not getting the same level of benefit of the doubt from their teachers and those people in the classrooms or their friend groups, right? As maybe some of their white classmates are getting. And so it's like those extra layers of things that you carry around with you that people don't even realize. Like they're not even able to make space for that wide range of realities going on.
I think also with adults, I became very involved in the case of a young adult Black male autistic person who was criminalized by the judicial system in Virginia. He had caused a car accident that was completely accidental, but by saying that he had caused injury and to these other people purposefully, they basically jailed him with no mental health evaluation, anything like that. And they gaslighted him because he was autistic. They told him if he signed something, he'd go home, when in fact it was a confession. And so the members of Neuroclastic became very involved in fighting for him. And I'm very proud to say that Black Lives Matter took up the call as well. And we had a whole hashtag of Black Autistic Lives Matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, you could get that thing where you're criminalized because you're Black, but you're taken advantage of. And as you know, people who are on the
Exactly.
spectrum feel very strongly about honesty, feel very strongly about social justice. Well, imagine this 20-year-old Black kid in the jail in Virginia
Yeah.
standing up for the guy who's queer
Mm-hmm.
with a whole bunch of prison inmates. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened to him?
Mm-hmm.
And so it was really, he ultimately did get pardoned with the
Sure.
huge support of hundreds of thousands of people from the autistic community stood up
Mm-hmm.
for him.
Mm-hmm.
But
That's where that representation really comes in, right? Like if we weren't able to have such a support system with like Neuroclastic and those types of resources, nobody would have been able to hear that story. And it would have been another, Black story that just got lost in the sauce.
exactly. And so, that's why I'm really glad that we're making this to at least introduce the idea that we
Yeah.
have to think about all these intersectionalities. And also, I mean, and I promise to get Schereeya back because he's one of the more interesting people I know.
Oh,
But, there are other intersectionalities, people from cultures who have very different expectations, Latino culture, the Asian culture, many, and you mentioned socioeconomic issues. I mean, there's so many other issues that impinge upon people who may also be dealing with the challenges of being autistic.
exactly.
So that's kind of where we're going to go. So,
Good. I'm excited.
thank you, Schereeya. Bye-bye.